Hello everyone. So we're going to start our section sharply at 8:30. Okay. So if you are new here, just give a comment. Okay. So so this is the fourth day of our JavaScript class. We're going to cover all the ES6 class today. Okay. And people around us, if you have any doubts regarding the previous section or anything about JavaScript, you can ask me now. Okay. So I can reply to your message, comments, and all. Okay. Sorry for Okay, so we start our section sharply at 8:30. Okay, so 5 more minutes are that, and after that we start our section. Okay, so if it is audible, just give a comment whether it is audible or not. Okay, so let me know. Okay, so in the previous classes, what are the topics we have till now covered? We have covered about what is classes and inheritance. We had covered a little bit advanced concept like promises, callbacks, async await, and all, and we have totally covered that. And today we're going to see about scopings, and we're going to discuss about variables and scopings. We're going to discuss about flat arrow functions and some default method, how to give a default method for the flat arrow functions, and we're going to see about some other things like if you have times like hello sir, hello, I think harsh harsh hello harsh, hello, yeah. So if you are new here, just give a comment like harsh. Okay, so if you have any doubt regarding the previous classes, hello Ankit, hope to see you again. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so today we're going and cover all the ES6 classes, like which all are the ES6 classes that would require to learn a framework like React and all. Okay, so hi Sandeep. So we're going to start our section at 8:30 sharply. Okay. So before that, if you have any doubt, so there are 3 more minutes. Is that if you have any doubt regarding the previous classes and all, you can ask me. Okay. So I will reply your comments right now, and after 9:30, I will go through your comment guide, and also in the end we go through. We see if you have any doubts in that. We just I just clear your doubts. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, so yeah, I think map filters for each and reduce. Okay, so you are asking for like maps and filters. So I think for each has been covered. So this is these they are called as array helper methods. Okay, Ankit, this chapter is not taking like array helper methods. Okay, I gave you a hint. So I just shared my LinkedIn, right? So I'm going to post the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to start a series, and in that series I just going to explain what is maps and how to use it, what is filters and how to use it, and we discuss about for each too, and we're going to see. Okay, so and we're going to see about reduce, which is the best platforms or Java or Python. Okay, so what purpose? So for example, what domain you are choosing, so it depends. Okay, so if you are choosing like uh, a development, or if you are choosing like something other than like ML, AI, like that, it depends. Okay, so so Java is still and a high rated job openings for Java is there, and Python is now the one of the biggest popular language. Okay, so it is the number one biggest popular language. Okay, so then we can see JavaScript is the number two, and after that Java literally occupy the space for so many of years. Okay, so it depends upon the domain you are choosing. Okay, so for example, if I something like if I choose to go for web development, if you are using Python towards the web development, it is okay, you can go to work with. Okay, so Java also take care of the web development too. Okay, it is also handles all the intensive process and all, it is also handles. Okay, so if you go for some other things like data science, MIAL, like that, Python is very good. Okay, so considering Java, you can go for Python too. Okay, so but if you are working with something like DSA, data structure and algo, and you go for Python and Java, anything, languages, it doesn't matter, but Java has a little bit of added advantages towards that. Okay. Okay, so Ankit, the same thing. So maps, filter, for each, and reduce. So for each we have discussed, right? So for each we have discussed so many of times, I think so. So maps, filters, and reduce are array helper methods. Okay, so array helper, I just going to put a series. Okay, so series about in my LinkedIn post. Okay, so where you get to know about how, like it is in a picture format, you can get to know about what is map, what is filters, what is reduce, like that. Okay, so I'm going to post it continuously. I don't know where when I'm going to start, but especially you can get that post within this week. Okay, so within this week, I just going to start and work with the array helper methods and all. Okay, so any other, thank you so much, thank you. So okay, so any other things is that you can ask, because we just going to start our sections. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think, hope we can start our section, right? So I think there is no if you are a bit, I think if you are new to here right now, only you are watching this video. Okay, I want to share some schedules and all. So that at the last of this video, we given a form, advanced form link. You just fill it out, the advanced form link, you will get a participation certificate in this workshop. Okay, so you will get that in your towards your emails. Okay, so don't miss that. Okay, so and this is like little bit something advanced features in JavaScript we are handling. And if you're a beginner here, I just highly recommend it. Go and watch all the basics to advanced level. In the previously, we have conducted a workshop for 5 days, and there we covered a lot. And please watch that, spend one more time. Okay, so watch that, and then watch the boot camp, which is taken for 4 hours continuously. 4 hours I taken the JavaScript in that, and you can take that. And now this is about advanced and JavaScript. Okay, so if you are a beginner JavaScript, if you find little bit understanding disturbance happening, okay, so this is because you are not understanding the fundamentals. Okay, so the fundamentals are covered in the previous workshop. Okay, so I highly recommend go and use that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so if you have any doubt, and you can ask me, I will I just give a 5 minutes time at the end of my class. Okay, so you can ask me, where at the time I send all the attendance link, and some other important announcement is going to be there, that is also I'm going to share with you. Okay, so shall we start our session? I hope that my screen is available now. Okay, so what is things today we're going to see, we just going to see about the arrow functions. So we discussed about arrow functions and what is the purpose of creating an arrow functions and all. Okay, so what is the purpose of arrow functions? We have discussed. Anyone knows that, you can just comment it out. So the purpose of creating an arrow function is simply to reduce the syntax of the function, and it gives some more advantage. Like we want to write a one line of code, in one line of code, like that. We don't want to write a whole bunch of code for a function. Instead, we can reduce that. So let's see what a function and how it works. So in a old way, this is how we use for function. If I want to declare a function, I just call the keyword function, and I want to name that function like something like this, and I want to perform some actions to that, right? So like I can say like my name is, and simply like this. Okay, so this is how we work basically. So how the functions works means, if I run this code, you can see nothing in the console. So this is because why? So this is because a function will not run automatically. Okay, so if you want to run automatically, that is called as immediate evoking function, and you can use, and that is what we just going to see that okay, sorry. Okay, so this is called as immediate evoking function. So what is mean by immediate evoking function means a function has to run, but I don't want to call the name of the function. Okay, so usually how this function run means basically it not works like this. So this is the way we are creating a function, and if I want to run the function, what I want to do means just refresh this. You can see nothing is displayed here. So why it is gone? Okay, just a minute. Like this. Okay, so this is how we create a function. If I want to run this code, what I want to do means I need to call the name. For example, someone calls your name, then only you will look back or you will respond, right? So same like functions is also a same like that. Okay, so functions, why we need a function actually? So we need a function to run a block of code wherever we want. Okay, so we want to run a block of code. Hi sir, hi. Okay, so we want to run a block of code for more than one times. We can create it in a function and we can use this. For example, I want to, I have an I have thousands of employee name. Okay, so for every employee I want to run the same code. So instead of creating that, instead of creating like what I can say, um, I just give an example. Okay, so instead of creating for each and every name, creating a simple code like console.log Hari, console.log Sabari, console.log Vikram, console.log Vinod, like that, we create a function means what we can able to do. So we can able to use this function for all the variables we are going to use. Okay, so I just going to give a demo for that. For example, instead of saying the name here, what I going to do, I just going to add and a variable. Okay, so I just going to add and add something like it's like a variable. It stores some data, right? So this is where this information comes from. This, there is another option here in the function that is called as parameter, and in this parameter, it, what is the purpose of having a parameter? The parameter fetch the value from the argument. Okay, so what is mean by argument? So whenever we call a function, we can able to give an argument at the value. For example, here I just given value in the name of like this. Okay, so here I going to give it in a string like this. Okay, so now what happened, I call the function and I giving a argument, and this argument is go and stored inside this parameter. Okay, so not storing inside, it goes inside the parameter, and this parameter now have the value of Hari, and this parameter is used inside the what, the code I written. Okay, so if I run this code, you can see the changes. Like just instead of giving like this, I just give an at here to see the difference. If I run this here, you can see it is different, right? So you can store this is, you can instead of giving the directly here, what you can do, you can store it in a variable too. Like for example, let name is equal to, and here what I say, so what can I say, I just cut this and I paste this. Okay, in the name, we can pause this name here. Okay, so now what happened? Now what happened? I declare a variable, and inside the variable the value is there, and that variable is passing as an argument, and that argument is go for the parameter, and that parameter is accessed inside that code, and so this value is displayed here. Okay, so this is how it works. So if I run this code here, you can see my name dot Hari is has been written, right? So now you can understand how it works, right? So why I declared a variable, and you can use the DOM properties, like for example document.getElement by id dot value something, and what you can do, there is an input is there, and if a user enters an value, what happened, that value, for example first name is asked in the input box, and if I enter the first name, that value is fetched inside this, and it is stored inside this variable, and by using that variable we can display it in here. Okay, we can display it in here, and this is what it doing, it will display a greet message for me. So the same thing you go for like something like Amazon. Okay, it's asked me signing, right? So after sign in, what would happen? After sign in, what would happen? Here it gives, it shows my name, right? It shows my name like welcome, like that. It shows my name. That this is the same process happening by using what we have done now. Okay, so the same process is happening. Okay, okay, so this is the purpose of creating a function. To using a block of code for more than one number of times, what we can do, we can create a function. It is a easy way to run a block of code. Okay, so there comes another thing that is called as arrow functions. So how many of you know arrow functions? Let I know in my comment. Okay, so what is mean by arrow function? If someone knows, just comment in the chat box. Okay, so actually, what is an arrow function? An arrow function is nothing but it is also a function. Okay, so it is also a function, but it has syntax. That syntactic sugar is reduced. Okay, we can say like that. So what is my syntactic sugar we reduce? For example, I'm going to write the same code in arrow function. Okay, you can see much more bigger here. I'm going to write the same code. You can see I just going to declare font x is equal to, okay, and what is this name, like this, and here I just going to say console.log, something like this. Okay, so I just, instead of here, I just remove this, and okay, I removed this. So now what I have a variable that has an identifier called name, that has a value of Harry. So I created a parameter, and what is the symbol represent? It is like a flat arrow function. I'm going to use an arrow function. So that is what the symbol is representing. Okay, okay, so that is what the symbol is representing, and here I'm saying the console.log the code to run. Okay, let us see what happens when I call like something like x. I say run, and here and here it gives me an undefined. Okay, so because I want to pass this variable as an argument here. Okay, so now I'm passing this, and consider this is same like an argument, and this is the parameter where we written here, like we declare a name and we declare an parenthesis and we declared here, right? The same like we are declared a parameter here. Okay, so the console.log, this value is fetched and it is going to show here. So before that I declared, so what happened, I don't give any argument, right? So what happened, this argument value, it doesn't get anything, so it becomes undefined, and the value is displayed as undefined. If now I run this code, here you can see my name is Harry, it is written. So you can see this, how this code is and how this code is, right? It is way good, right? It is a way good, right? So there are several things is that, for example, if you want to use only one parameter, you can go without parenthesis, but if you want to use more than one parameter, you want to use this parenthesis. Okay, if I want to like something like x, okay, so like this, you want to use more than one parameter, you definitely want to use the what like this thing, parenthesis you want to use. Okay, so if you have one line of code, you don't want to write anything, but if you have more line of code, what you want to do, you just want to use the statement. You want to use you just want to write inside this, and make sure that if you are using console, no problem, but if you are writing like some block of code, you need to give a keyword called return statement. Okay, so what is this return statement explains? The return statement indicates that that is the end of the function. Okay, so if I'm calling a function, what it mean, it going to give an answer for me, right? So that answer is returned, where to return, the person who calling the function. So if someone calls you, what would you do? You just go for the person, right? So same like this. So here the return statement do that work. Okay, so the person who calls the function, so it returns the value to this. So here the X is calling, right? So the return statement, what it do, it just simply sends the answer for the person, okay, who it calls. Okay, so code length less. Yeah, yes, yeah, I understand. Like syntactic sugar reduce, right? Arrow function, right? So we have like core Sandeep says, arrow function. That is what it do. Okay, so and one more thing is here. So whenever you are using, and now we know about how the objects works and how the inside that object we have methods and all, right? We know that how it works, right? So here is the thing. So in the last class we have discussed about the this, right? So whenever we work with the object, we use this class to access particularly the properties inside that and inside a function, right? But in arrow function, that this works completely different. Okay, so here I think you need to notice this is whenever you want to use the this keyword, go for the traditional function method. Okay, so whenever you don't use the this method, I highly suggest go for the arrow function. So whenever you want, you can go. Okay, so now comes another one I just written, and one more thing also there. Okay, so in previously what I did, I don't pass any argument, right? So I don't pass any argument. So what it returns? It returns me an undefined. So this is what happened. So this is what I don't want. Okay. So what I meaning is what I just telling is here you can see if I pass any value, that value should come. Okay. If I don't pass any value, a default value must come. So that is called as setting a default value. Setting a default value. So how can I do that? You can do that by using simply here in the parameter itself. You can simply give an equal to sign, and you can say something like, for example, what the default value we can give. We can give root. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so what is mean by root? It is just a value. So whatever the name you want to give, you can give. For example, if I pass any argument, what going to happen? This value, the passed value is going to display here. If I don't pass any value, means this root will be displayed. Let's see, now I don't pass any value, right? So if I run this code, here you can see a default value is running. Okay, instead of root, what we can say, default value. Okay, now you can understand, this is the default value. Okay, so if someone gives a value, for example, here I use a value like something like this. Okay, so I called a name, right? So if I call that name, what would happen? This values go inside the parameter, and that value is displayed in the code, right? For example, if I save this, here you can see my name is Abid. That is what displayed, right? So this is how the function works. Instead, if the user or the code will not work, what I just missed something, or I want to set some default value without, if this function is passed without an argument, I don't want to give an undefined. Instead, I want to give a default value. So how can I give that? You can give that by using in the parameter, by giving a default value like this. Okay, just give an equal to sign and give the whatever the value you want to give. So here the value I give is default value. Okay, I just run this. Here you can see my name is default value. Okay, it is pretty weird, but this is how we set a default value. Okay, so this is all about like arrow functions and all, and there are so much of things here you need to notice about the this keyword. Okay, so this is going to be covered in the next upcoming classes. Okay, so there are so much of things to understand in the this keyword, that is very important. Okay, so I highly suggest whenever arrow functions use less amount memory, yes, of course, that is also true. Okay, so if I'm running a function, what would happen means it takes some, that function is stored in a memory. Okay, so what it takes some time to run. Okay, so that's what happened. But if I use a lesser syntax, that is the main reason every time we the programming language is getting upgrade. Okay, so every time the programming language is getting upgrade, the main reason they're reducing the syntax because of that. Okay, so as much as we run the code, okay, so how fast we can run the code, so that is the main reason. Okay, So can you explain immediate evoking function on some? Yeah, yeah. So thanks for remembering me. So what is mean by immediate evoking function? So till now we have uh, discussed about a normal function and arrow function, right? So what is mean by immediate evoking function? So a function that want to run without calling his name. Okay, so like a normal code, how can I do that? For example, if I write some code, we just comment of this and I just uncomment this. Okay, so how can I call this name? How can I run this function? So this function is read and it is allocated some memory. Okay, so read it by this JavaScript. Okay, so whatever the code we have written, it is read by this JavaScript and it stores some this function is go and it is allocated in a little bit memory, and whenever we call that function is get evoked. Okay, so that function get evoked. So remember the word evoked. Okay, so that evoking is happened by us manually. Okay, so anything, for example, if someone click that button, that function has to evoke, or some we can add some event listener and all. But we want a function but it wants to automatically evoke. Okay, it want to call by himself. Okay, so how can I do that? So that is the purpose of creating an immediate evoking function. So that is IIFE. Okay, immediate evoking function. Okay, so how can I do that? So you can do that by simply wrap it. Okay, wrap it in a parenthesis. Okay, wrap it in a parenthesis and just call, and just followed by that call and another parenthesis. Okay, so wrap the whole function inside the parenthesis. Okay, inside the parenthesis, and followed by this you just sorry, you just give another parenthesis. Okay, so if you do that, so what now this is going to do means it's going to evoke automatically. Okay, something like, for example, what we can, some block of code. Okay, so in some block of code I want to evoke, there is a block of code I going to use for so much of time, n number of times. I want to evoke this particular function automatically for the first time, and whenever I want that function is called by someone else, that would be separately, and this particular function should be evoked automatically. How can I do that? You can use this like immediate evoking function. So by doing this, you just run this code, you can see an undefined sprint, I know that. Okay, so this is this, something like this we can give. Okay, okay, so this is the purpose, this is how the syntax, this is the basically the syntax of immediate evoking function. Okay, so the purpose of using this immediate evoking function is the function itself called by himself. Okay, so the functions wants to evoke by themselves. Okay, so what happening means it is allocated and it is called by himself only, so it wait for no one to get called. Okay, so it is automatically evoked. Okay, so that is the process happening here. So that is immediate evoking functions. Okay, okay, so I think you get it. Okay, so the next thing what we're going to do, we just go and see about the scopes. So which means like I think someone asked me maps and filter. Yeah, Ankit, we're going to cover about maps and we're going to cover about for each too, and we're going to do that. Okay, so to do this in our sections too. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're just going to see about the scopes. So there are, you can see about, there are so much of keywords is used to declare a variable, like var is used, let is used, const is used, right? There are three things has been three keyword has been used to declare a variable, right? So this let and const is a modern one. Okay, so this is var, this var is pretty older one, and we used it in the olden ways. So it is comes from 1996 when the JavaScript has been introduced. From that time the keyword has been used as var. Okay, so till now but nowadays we are used to avoid var because let is little bit an upgrade version of var. Okay, we can consider let keyword as an upgrade version of var, and const is like a new specialty. Okay, so a new specification for declaring a keyword, declaring a variable. Okay, So that is what const going to do. So we're going to discuss about the scopes more. Okay, so let me do now. Okay, so how we can do, for example, in older days, if I use the var, if I say x is equal to something like 56, okay, so this is declared outside globally, right? So this is considered as a global function. So how can I do that? For example, if I call console.log x, okay, console.log x, and I just refresh this, and here you can see this is will be printing, right? So this will be printing, right? So this is what happened. And I just give a comment here like global function, and not function, global variable. So what is the meaning of global variable? So the global variable has the meaning, right? It can be used anywhere. For example, if I use a function, okay, function, and here I name this as something like my name, okay, instead of okay, anything like, instead of my name, I just go for num, and inside the function, now what I'm going to do, I just call this, okay. So I just going to comment it off, and I calling the function. I'm checking whether this is inside a function, right? So this is the, I called inside the variable is inside the function. I'm calling the variable inside the function, but the variable is declared outside, right? Let me check whether it is coming or not. For that, I want to call the function. Just run this. Here you can see the variable is accessible. So the variable is declared outside, but it is accessible inside the function too. So that is considered as a global variable. Okay, so what is mean by global variable? It is accessible anywhere in the browser. Okay, so anywhere in the script. Okay, so that is called as global variable. But if I called a variable, inside a function, okay, inside a function, what would happen if I call a variable inside a function, and I just declared a variable inside a function, and I am also calling a variable inside the function only. Okay, if I run this code, you can see this will be running, but instead of calling this function, I'm calling outside. Okay, I'm calling outside. So what this means, I just going to call that. So the variable is declared inside a function. Now I am calling this in outside. Okay, you can see an error has happened. So why it happens? Because it is considered as an local scope. So, or you can say like a functional scope. Okay, so what is mean by this? So in JavaScript, if you declare a variable in a global outside the function, it can be accessible outside the function too, inside the function too. But in JS, when you declare a variable inside a function, it will be accessible only inside. Okay, so this will be accessible only inside. We are not able to access it in outside. Okay, so that is the difference that is the difference. Okay, so that is the difference between like you can say local scope, or you can say functional scope, anything. Okay, so whatever you can call. Okay, so maybe mostly called as local scope. Okay, so this is considered as a local scope. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, but if I call, what is the problem with the var means, if I call it in like something like closes block level, it doesn't have a block level scope. Okay, so that is we already discussed in the basics level 2. I will explain now how it works. So if I call something like if x, see, if I just going to say true, if it is true, okay, and I just say var x is equal to 12, okay, and I'm going to say console.log something like this x, and y just comment of this. Okay, so now what happened, it is true. If I run this code, you can see the 12 is printed, right? So the 12 is printed. I just refresh this, you can see the 12 is printed. Okay, so now if I call this outside the function, you can see again 2 times it is printed. Okay, for example, I just comment of inside the console. Okay, so I declare a variable inside an block level. So block level means that is inside that something like closes. Okay, so that is called as block levels, and like conditionals, loops, everything is considered as block level scope. Okay, so if I call a var, so how inside the function it will be working, but outside I call the same variable, it will not work, right? The same, if I declare a variable inside an if or anything in the block level, it will work. If I call that outside the block level also, you can see it will work. Okay, so this is the main bugs with this var keyword. Okay, so in var it has a functional scope, but it does not have an block level scope. Okay, so that is that mistake has been rectified when let has been introduced. Okay, so if I declare a variable let in global level, it will be accessible in entire script. Okay, so there is no problem with that. The same like if I declare a variable inside by using the let keyword inside the function, it is also accessible only inside the function also. Okay, so but here only the changes come. So what is the changes? The changes is if I declare a var variable, var keyword, and a variable is declared inside a block level, it will also give access for the outside too. So that this will cause some error, and this will create some bugs in our code. Okay, so we don't want that. Okay, so now you can see this variable is declared inside a block level. I am accessing this is displaying that answer, right? So now I just change this to let. Okay, so this is also newly introduced keyword in the ES6. Okay, so 2015, I just refresh this. Now you can see reference x is not defined. So why it is not accessible? Because it is accessible only inside the block level. Okay, so the simply you can understand like var x global scope. Here also global scope is accepted. That is here they has a functional scope too. Let also has the function scope, but var does not support block level scope, but let also support the block level scope. So 2 plus 1 minus, and here all the three things plus. So consider let us we use more let. Okay, so in modern JavaScript we use more let. Try to avoid var as much as you can. Okay, so this is the scoping. And what about const? A const is little bit and okay. Hi sir, hi. So okay, const is little bit an additional feature given for the declaring a variable. What is meant by an additional feature? For example, I know now you're familiar with the scopes and variables. So I just declare a variable let x is equal to 14. Okay, so now I just say console.log x. Okay, run this code. Here you can see this is displaying, right? 14 is displaying. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, so the let given give and another thing, like normally we declare a variable, we can able to reassign a value after some code lines. Okay, so until here x has the value of 4, but now I'm going to reassign a value, like I'm going to save x value as 30. Okay, something like that. Okay, so now I console log it, you can see 30 is displayed at the last. Okay, so till here the value of x is 14, and after the code here the x value is reassigned, and now it is changed into what? 30. Okay, so in let we can able to reassign a value. Okay, but think about that. If you have some data, okay, so if you have some data, some sensitive data, for example, if you have the details about your employee or something, the data that is more important, that is the source data. Okay, so consider this x as the source data, so that has the value as 14. If I changed that value, means what would happen? So the actual source is changed, right? So now the actual source is changed. So this leads to some some very big errors, right? So that is happens. So mostly the primitive data are not have the primitive data types doesn't have they are, that's why they are called as primitive data, because they store some limited data, right? So mostly the non-primitive types like reference type, like objects, arrays, they handles the source data. Okay, so mostly whenever you are working with the arrays and object, go with the const. So the what the const is do means, if I declare the same variable with const, if I declare the same variable with const, now this variable is constant. Okay, so you will not allow to reassign in your entire script. Okay, so the JavaScript will not allow to do that. Okay, if I try to do that, what would happen? It throw me an error. Okay, you can see a type error, assignment to a constant variable. So it gives an indication like it is a constant variable, whether you are not allowed to change. Whether you want to change this to something else, you don't declare the const. Okay, so that is the difference between that is an add and or like specialty for const. Okay, and const also has functional scope, block level scope, and also has the global scope. You can whatever you want. Okay, so mostly for arrays and object we declare const, because these arrays and objects are look like data, they are actually data. Okay, so for handling arrays and object we use the const keyword. Okay, so what are the specialties of const means, reassigning a constant value is not possible, reassigning a constant array, so remember that array or an object is not possible, but we can use the array methods. For example, if you want to add some data, if you want to delete some data, I say that first come first, last come first, like push and pop method, shift and unshift method, we have discussed much more earlier workshop, right? So first come first, last come first, these method you can able to do by using the const. Okay, so but you are not able to reassign the entire array. Okay, you can add, delete array methods, and that's all happening. And the properties of constant object, that is also you can able to do. If you want to add 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 or delete something in an object, you can able to do that. Okay, but nothing, but you cannot reassign that, and you cannot reassign an array, you cannot reassign an object when you use it with const. Okay, hello. Okay, Shalim Krush 14, what is mean by 14? Oh, you are saying the answer. Okay, so thank you. Well, yeah, it's 14. Okay, so this is the difference between const and all. Okay, so the next thing what we're going to discuss is, we're just going to see about the array methods. And I think Ankit asked me about array methods, how the maps work, right? So I just going to tell you about the maps now. Okay, so for each we have discussed, we're going to see about the maps now, and we move on to the next, because we don't have that much to take with filters and reduce. There are similar like maps. So filters I'll explain. Okay, so I will explain it. Okay, let's see array methods first. Array methods. So in ES6 there are lots of features has been arrived for the array methods. Okay, so there is a special like sections for that array helper methods. Okay, I'm going to put a detailed information about array helper method in my LinkedIn. Okay, so if you undefined means, sir, undefined means it's nothing but it is also a data type. So it is saying like I'm not able to get any value, I don't have any value. Okay, so no value is defined. If for example, what is mean by a variable? A variable is like a container. Okay, what it do, it stores some data, right? It stores some data, and the data is the value. Okay, so what is mean by undefined means, the container is simply empty, nothing is in there. Okay, so that is why it's a, that is why whenever we forgot to give some values and all, it's a undefined, nothing is there, what you are fetching, then why are you calling me like that? Okay, so for example, if in your class there are around 50 students are there, and a teacher called and random name like something, some names like Vijay. Okay, but in your class no one is Vijay, that is, then that is called as undefined. Okay, so class is a container, and each person's inside that considered as a value, and the teacher called a random student name, but in that name no student is there. Okay, so that is called as undefined. Okay, I guess you understand. But what is mean by null? Null is pretty different. So what is mean by null means, actually the student is there but he is absent, that is called as null. Okay, undefined means there is no such students like that. But and null is little bit different. Null, what it means as the student is there in the class, but he is absent for today. Okay, so that is what null do. Okay, so if you have any doubts regarding that, we have an workshop that I say go through the previous classes, previous week classes. Okay, so we have discussed that too. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to see about array method, most especially map. Why I just showing the maps, because in React, when you are working with React JS, map is used so much. Okay, so I just explained what is filter and what is reduced to. Okay, so but we see the practical for maps. Okay, so what I'm going to do, okay, so map is so very much useful in the React JS. Okay, so don't underestimate map. So what, for example, these are called as array methods, right? I just going to create an array. So I just say my array, and here I just going to declare something like some names, like name of the persons, like this. Okay, so consider there are name of the persons are inside this array. Okay, so there are 3 values are there, and that is inside that array. Okay, so what does for each loop do? What does for each iterator do? So you want to iterate. Okay, if you want to iterate this, what you want, you can go with the for each. Okay, so that is what for each do. For example, how can I iterate this? Okay, if I just call this array, and for using for each, you need to go with for each. Okay, so for each, what this going to do, what this method is going to do means, inside this method we can call a function, and what this for each do means, it takes the function and run it in every items, every elements, every value inside the array. So that is what it do. For example, here I just going to return item. Okay, so item, it is an arrow function I'm using. Okay, I'm using an arrow function, and here what I'm going to do, I just going to say like console.log item. Okay, so now what happens, so this is called as array iterator or array helper method, or this is an like advanced method of looping through an element in array, like that. Okay, so what this is going to do, this is going to run this code. Okay, run this code, run this entire code in each and every element of the array. Okay, so now this is a parameter, right? So now it takes the value from this parameter and it displays the value here, and it go for the next, and it go for the next, and when it reaches the last value in the array, it stop automatically. Okay, if I run this code, okay, console.log array, okay, this is console, right? So this is an array is there. Okay, so it is run. Okay, so what happened, so first this, what this for each is going to do, the for each take first it go for the first value Vijay, and this values go inside this parameter, and this parameter has the value of Vijay that is displayed in the console first, and then it's go and loop through the next value and it display the value, and it's go and loop through the next value and display the value. So this is what this for each do. Okay, so let's see what is the difference between looping, working with for each and working with maps. So what maps do means, map methods allows you to run a function same like this. It allows you to run a function. Okay, so in each item in the array, same like what, how the for each work, it is also work, but it returns a new array. Here comes a difference. It returns a new array. What is meaning, what's mean by this? So here we only iterating it, right? But what is the for each method, what it returning, it returning the codes only. Okay, it goes and run this function, that's all. But here what happens, when I use the map method, it iterates this value and it returns a new array instead of just getting the element and do some work. What it's going to do, it is we can say that like I can give an example. for example, if I use instead of Vijay, I just say 1, and here I just going to say 2. Okay, so here I just going to say 3. Okay, so there are 3 things is there. So if I run this code, okay, comment of this, right? If I run this code, and here you can see what this for each do. For each, literally simply I just say right, item multiply by 2. Item multiply by 2. So what is meaning by this? So fetch the item and it is multiplied by 2 and it will be displayed in my console. That is the work I am giving. I given for this for each loop. I just save this. Here you can see 1 is multiplied by 2, it returns 2. 2 is multiplied by 2, it returns 4. 3 is multiplied by 3, it returns 6. So the for each method returns the each and every individual value, right? So the for each method, what it do? It returns the each and individual value. But when I use the map method, it's going to return an array. Okay, let's see what is the difference between a map and here. Okay, so for using map, I want to work with the same syntax, like something like array dot map. Okay, here what I'm going to do, I'm going to iterate this item. Okay, and I just want to display this, and here I just going to say console.log. The same code I just going to say item star 2. Okay, so I just run this code. Okay, you can see it is also printing the same thing, but the difference is it returns in an array. Okay, so that is the main difference here. For example, if I store this in a const x, okay, something like this, okay, we can able to store that. Now what happens means, if I say console.log x, I run this. Here you can see instead of writing console, I leave the console. I just write here. Here now you can see this has been iterated and it is written in an array format. So the same thing if I do for the for each loop. Okay, if I do for the for each loop, const y, and I just say like console.log y. Okay, you can see it returns me an undefined. Why it is returns me an undefined? Because this for each loop returns the value only. Okay, so if you want to iterate through a value, you can use this for each loop. Okay, but this map method returns an array. Okay, so it does the function and it stores the value as an array. So here you can see it stores a value as an array. I just refresh it, you can understand. Okay, the first is it comes undefined for this console.log y, for comes for array, because the for each loop does not returns anything. Okay, it returns the, if I console log it and if I use the code inside, I can able to, it simply iterate that. Okay, but it does not returns. But here this map method returns an array. Okay, so that's why it returns the all the answers that has been it returns in an array format. So what it do, it just fetch for the 1 and the 1 is come here, 1 into 2, a 2 is come. So it suddenly it creates an array in the name of x. Okay, so in the name of x, it's create an array. In the first index, it put that 1. And another, then the 2 comes, and the 2 comes for the parameters, and it's go for that. The value becomes 4. The value, once the value, all the code has been done, the value comes for the next index. So likewise, it comes and comes. Okay, so it returns an array. So that is the main difference between maps and for each. Okay, and what is meant by filter? Filter is like a conditional rendering. Okay, so simply, okay, I just explained very soon filter in JS. So what is meant by conditional rendering? If it is passed some test, okay, I just give up some condition. If those values are passed from the test, it can be filtered out. Okay, so that is what filters do. Okay, So you just simply click this, and here you can see this is actually filter. Okay, here you can see what I do. Age, I have an array. Okay, age, there is an array is there. Okay, we simply copy this and we can paste it. Okay, so the filter is for conditional rendering or like conditional looping. So instead of what the map and for each do, it goes and looping every items in an array. But filter, it will not work like that. It is also go and work with every item, but it returns only the answer that is passed in the condition. Okay, here you can see I just declared a variable the name of age, and the result I want is age dot filter. So I pass it a function. Okay, I pass it a function, and that function is checked out adult, and whatever the age they are coming here, it goes there. And here you can see there is a return keyword is there, and here they say like age is greater than 18, only be age is greater than 18, only be sent to for the result. Okay, so if I call the const console.log result. Okay, if I call something and I run this, okay, here you can see this is also returning an array, but it returns only the passed one. Here you can see 32 is greater than 80. Yes. Okay, so then it goes for the result and it create an array. 33 is greater than 18. Yes. 16 is greater than 80. No, false. So this value will be omitted. So based on the conditions, it will render. Okay, so it gives a conditional rendering. So that is how this filter works. Map method simply what it do, simply it goes and iterate every items in the array, and it simply copy and paste it. Okay, not copy and paste it, do the particular block of code work, and what it do, it just create an array and it pastes all the answer as an array. The filter also do the same thing, but it filter out, the name itself, yeah, filter out. And reduce, what the null is also a data type, but it is defined by the user itself. Yes, null is also a data type, but it's defined as a user itself, which means instead of by mistakenly we not give any value. Okay, instead of given any value, there comes undefined. If you don't give any, the variable is declared, but if you don't give any value, the undefined is come. But null is something like by purposely we giving the value as null, by purposely we giving. Okay, so that is null. It is also a data type. Okay, so I think the reduce work with that. Reduce, what is how the reduce work means, reduce simply adds a pod. Okay, so that is how it works. And if you want a detail all the array methods, all the array helper methods, if you want to know about all the array helper methods, I just going to post on great resources, and I just going to continue that resources as a series. Okay, so in a LinkedIn post you can get that. Okay, so it is freely available. I'm going to post. Okay, so you can get within this week. Okay, so it is going to be in the name of like concept to learn. Okay, so it's concept to learn. This week I just going to post about array helper methods. So what is map, what is reduce, what is for each loop, and what are the other loops is there, and how it is going to be work, and all the things you will get it in my LinkedIn post. Okay, so that as a resource. Okay, so you can get it. Okay, so this is how the main thing is how map works. Okay, so this is very important. And filter also sometimes we use. Okay, reduce is also we use that, and you came to know very soon in my LinkedIn. Okay, so the next thing what time is up. Okay, so the only one thing is we're going to see about the destructuring. Okay, so how can we destructure? Okay, what is mean by destructuring? For example, if I have a array like something like this, 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, something like this. Okay, so there is an array is there. So if I want to destructure it, what is mean by destructuring means, there is an array is there, right? So they have lots of value, and I want to store this value one by one in a variable. How can I do that? So in olden ways, what we do means let num1 is equal to what we say, x square bracket 0, like this, console.log. And if I call num1, okay, I just refresh this. On here you can see 1. So what is mean by destructuring it? So there are so much of values present inside that, right? So what we do, we simply split it up into individual value. Okay, so they are in a list. We want to split it up. So how can I destructure an array like this? We can use like in olden ways, we use like this. Okay, so what we do, we just create an for each and every value, we create a value, and we want to tell the index of this. Okay, index, if I say 0th means it is for the value in 0th index. If I call the 1 index, it is for the first index. If I call for the second index, it is for the second index. Okay, so likewise it will work. Okay, now you can see first three value. 111 is there. Why 111 is displaying? Because here I called only 111. Okay, 3, and here I just say 2. Okay, now you can see 146 will be displayed. 146 will be displayed. Why? Because I destructured it. So this is how you have thousands of array lists there. This is how we destructure, and this is a pretty old way. Okay, so we have some modern ways of destructuring it. How can we do that? Means we can say simply, if I want to destructure it, what can I do? For example, I just simply explain. I have 3 things. Okay, 3 variables. How can I do? Declare another array. Okay, so here in another array, instead of giving some identifier like this, you need to call an array here. Okay, you need to call an array here, and here you can give the identifiers like num1, num2, num3. Okay, and here what you want to do, from which array you want to destructure. So from the array of x, I want to destructure. Okay, if I call like this, now you can see the changes. I just copy, paste, paste. Okay, this is for num1, num2, num3. Okay, if I run this code, okay, it is in comment. Run this code, here you can see the same thing has happened, but here you can see there are so much of code I have written. Every time I want to call the keyword, every time I want to call an identifier, and I want to mention the index of this, and I want to call the console. But this is a modern way of destructuring. What we can do, we create an array. Instead of creating something like x and identifier, or we can create an array of identifiers. Okay, so like whatever the name, it should be stored. So for the first variable, it's going to be number 1, and for the second value, it's going to be number 2, and for the third one, it is going to be number 3. So that is how I want to store, and from which array I want to destructure. So from the array of x, you want to call that array. If I call this, what happened? In the variable 1, it is stored in this index 0. The value 1 is stored in the first called variable, and this is stored in the second called variable, and next upcoming is stored in the third called variable. So instead of doing this, you can do this. This is something like a modern way of doing. Okay, so this is about destructuring, and we're going to see about rest and prototype inheritance in the next classes. Okay, index always starts with 0. Yes, of course, index always starts with 0. When it is a string, it is also start with 0. When it is an array, it is also start with 0. Okay, so index in JS, index always starts with 0. Okay, so that's all for today. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. I just share the attendance form. Please fill it. Okay, so this is for day 4 attendance form, and we covered about all the thing which we have covered before. Okay, so we have covered over the ES6 and all, and now the next class is going to be a pretty knowledge heavy. Okay, we're going to cover about prototype and inheritance. We're going to see about other ES6 class within 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to end that. Okay, so ES6 and all, and we cover the main important concepts, okay, in the upcoming class. Okay, so and one more announcement. I think all the students who are watching TWD regularly, they know that we are going to open our new batch for offline boot camps, where we're going to teach all about merit stack development. We go for the entire full stack development, who all are want to become a developer in a 2 months gap. Okay, so in a 2 months gap, we are going to conduct an offline bootcamp, that is a paid bootcamp section. We're going to teach you one-on-one by one-on-one interactions. Okay, so that's going to be conduct. That announcements also I will share in the comment section. Okay, you can look into that. Okay, so and I want to inform another thing that it is only for limited person, only for 20 peoples. Okay, we are going to take only 20 peoples. Already some seats are booked. Okay, so only 20 peoples is there. Okay, so this is for August and September. For the 2 months, we're going to take classes for every Saturday for specially for that persons. Okay, especially for that offline paid bootcamp members. Okay, so that is going to happen personal meeting like anything like Zoom or Google Meet like that, and we're going to give all the resources for learning, and also we're going to guide you to get a placements or internship jobs like that. And also we're going to have an weekly doubt clearing sections also. You're going to have like every week Wednesday 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. we're going to handle the live doubt clearing sections also. We're going to clear we're going to handle. Okay, so those people who are interested, you can just join the paid boot camps only for the first 20 people. Okay, so the upcoming peoples are not allowed, only for the first 20 persons. Okay, so I think around 4 to 5 members has been paid already from yesterday's also. So much so many members asked me for that, and we have done with that. Okay, so and if you want I just share the LinkedIn's of my, if you have any doubts and query regarding this boot camps and all, you can contact us personally. And this is my LinkedIn, and you can contact us personally, and you can get all your resources. Like I say, I just going to start a new series that is based on learner concept. That is the title of our series. So in that series, I just going to regularly post all the resources that you want to acquire knowledge in JavaScript. So okay, so the first series I just going to announce now is array helper methods. We're going to see about all array helper methods and what is the purpose of using the modern array helper methods, and all the things. You're going to get it in my LinkedIn post, and if you want, you can go there. And if you have any doubt personally, you can contact me in LinkedIn too. I'm active there. And if you any doubt regarding the paid section, how to create our own JS frameworks, any ideas? Yeah, so creating own JS frameworks, like for example, you are saying like Vue.js, it is has a great community and created by Angular and created by React. We can do that, but you need a long time to do that, and you need a great community to support that. Okay, so that is very important. That is very big process compared to us, like or any library you can contribute. Okay, so there are some open source libraries are available there. You can contribute in that open source libraries. For example, what is mean by contributing? I think hope you will know what is a libraries and all. Like for example, if you are using jQuery, mostly nowadays we are not using jQuery because there are so much of advanced frameworks has been come, like React libraries and Angular Vue frameworks are there, and you can able to contribute. If you have the knowledge to do that, you can able to contribute. Okay, so all the React and Angular and Vue, everything is a open source. Okay, so it is developed by the people, by us. Okay, so it is developed by the community. Okay, you can automatically go and tell I want to add a feature. Can I go and tell that? So for that, you want to have a good understanding about the Git and GitHub version control, how to use the version control and all. And in that version control, you can see all the open source materials. Like there are so much of technologies, libraries built for JavaScript. Okay, so for that, first you want to master the JavaScript, and you need to contribute open sourcely, and then think about the libraries. Okay, because libraries not like that easy process. Okay, so you want to do so much of things, because I'm created a single method and I'm not able to call that as a library. Okay, so and also it should be market, it depends upon the market. Okay, so some people wants to use our libraries, and all so much of things are apart there. Okay, you can able to do that. Okay, so that is also possible, and for that you need to understand the JavaScript from the core level. Okay, so that is how it works. Okay, so first, if you have any idea towards the JS, think about the GitHub, and if you know the version control and all, go and search like something like jQuery is there. Some very less, there are thousands of libraries for JavaScript is available, but we know some very specified libraries. Okay, so go and search some of the libraries and try to contribute for that libraries. Okay, after that, think of, you get an idea like how to create a library and all. And I hope sure that you need a huge community to create that. Okay, so if you want to create an awesome library, you definitely need a huge community to support. Okay. Okay, so any other doubt, I just going to end the section in a minute. And if you fill that form, and if you want any resources and any doubts you want to clear, you can contact me LinkedIn. I just add my LinkedIn too. Okay, so and the paid bootcamp link has also shared, and if you want, you can check it out. And there are also a document also I just linked it here. Okay, you can use that document to verify the curriculum we are going to teach in offline. Okay. Okay, so can we wind up this live section today? Can we see tomorrow? Any other doubts is there? No. Okay. Okay. Okay, so see you guys. See you in the next section. We're going to cover our advanced concepts in JavaScript, like prototype inheritance. That is the main concept that I would really complete that in the next day. So upcoming days.